Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Those are three things that this is not. For you see, something happened and something big happened. And that's why Mother Larissa, being the busy, busy person that she is going to stroll up to the Jean Shu tree houses with her shopping cart and is going to bang on the tree.
Sitting on the opposite side of the tree, underneath it, just a stone's throw away from Mother Larissa, a individual sitting in a meditative stance simply speaks. You know, Larissa, you don't need to be so loud.
Tonight I need to be!
Is this in regards to the howl that was released some time ago?
Yes.
The young woman will stand up and move hair back over her pointed, lettuce-deformed ears. What do you wish of me, Larissa?
I want you to go have a chat together with Morning Kill with Renshaw.
He's not going to survive, is he?
No. It's a good thing our ancestors created a right of hunt specifically for these sort of situations.
It's unfortunate that it has to come to this, but I understand your reasoning.
It's sad. Except we'll honor both their deaths.
Hopefully it will be seen as a reminder.
I'll not have to get a Fenris and the Wendigo both tear us a new one. You go and speak with Morning Kill, child.
And Maylin will simply lower her head in a very prostrated bow, and then make her way across the steps to the west side, to where a certain Silverfang calls his office.
Morning Kill actually meet Melin at the steps towards the History Museum. Greetings.
Morning, Kill.
Contemplates the night.
Dire circumstances that we must confer with one another again.
Indeed so. Now then, please follow me.
She'll nod and walk with him, her fingers clasped in front of her.
And they'll go into the museum and they'll actually walk up to a door that is not really there. It is, if you were to imagine the hallway of offices, it is the door that is not there. It's right next to Morning Kill's office, and he simply taps the wall. A couple of times, as a strange ripple goes across the wall and the door manifests as he opens it. And there are steps going down.
Maylin will look at Morning Kill. You need not follow me. This is my area of expertise.
Very well.
And Maylin will begin her descent down, leaving Morning Kill at the top of the stairs. And each graceful step brings her down until she is standing in front of the cell where a certain Wendigo is being held. His arms locked in silver shackles that keep him from, well, harming himself or escaping. Mr. Renshaw.
Ben, despondent, bent as far forward as he can, leaning against the shackles, slowly raises his head and looks at the newcomer. And who are you? Come for me.
Malin contemplates the night Ren. I am a stargazer philodox.
And why are you here? I have you here to have me killed now?
She shakes her head. No, I'm not a headsman.
Ben hangs his head back down, sort of grunting.
I am here, Mr. Renshaw, to help ease your passing. I'm sure that you know what awaits you.
I hope even the Wormbringers understand enough that I will not see another moon.
She walks up and pulls a small stone from her pocket, which seems to cause the silver shackles to resonate slightly as she undoes his bindings, and then sets down a bag in the cell. And she opens it up, and it's simply a blanket with a teapot within and 2 cups. And she will sit Indian style on one side and then offer the other side to Ben.
Ben sits, rubbing his wrists where the shackles have been. So how are you going to ease my passing? Contemplates the night.
By simply speaking with you and helping you come to terms with what has happened, and see that your place amongst Gaia is not completely tarnished.
I fall into thrall, and whilst this get insulted my tribe, my people, and all sense of honor, surely we are past my honor now.
Contemplates will just simply touch the top of the Asian-style teapot, and quickly steam begins to rise out of it as she takes a spoonfuls of what looks to be a green powder and drops it into the teapot itself. She'll bolt an incense burner out and simply light it, and then set it down, filling the air with a very pungent but sweet aroma that seems to almost soothe the tortured soul. Honor is not always lost when our more primal sides come forth. You were driven to an act of perversion through the ancient hatreds that stem from your particular tribe, as well as our anger against all that we see that is not right with the world.
If that is how you wish to see it.
Are you so despondent, Ben Renshaw, that you find that your life has been entirely without merit?
No, I am proud for upholding the litany when I did, for guiding my pack, although there was a task I still needed to do for them, a punishment for a breach of the litany that still was meted out that I cannot do, and that I have failed Gaia also. But I have taken some worm beasts in my time, at least.
Tell me, how do you feel about your actions as a member of the nation up to this point?
Before today, I was proud to be a member of the only tribe that stayed true to the nation and to Gaia.
Stayed true to the nation of Gaia? Please expound upon this.
We, Wendigo, we have not consorted with the Weaver as some have. We have not invaded others' lands and corrupted them and slaughtered kinfolk en masse for our own vanity. We have not made the compromises that elder brother has and middle brother never had the chance to refuse.
Tell me, Ben, you sit here now, a victim of your own anger. Do you honestly believe that these holding true to the pure ways have suited you and served you well?
Until today, yes. And after how the Wormbringer behaved, killing him and falling to thrall was weakness on my part, but his words confirmed every belief I've had of them. My
Perhaps,
anger was right, if my actions today were not.
perhaps. But consider, if you will, now his family, his parents, his brothers, his sisters, his mate, his children. They will all now go forth holding anger and resentment to your tribe. They will look upon the Wendigo as savage creatures that cannot be trusted, ones that fall to the worm all too easily. And this is a continued hatred that you are now perpetuating rather than solving.
I am not in their lands. I have not corrupted. The Wendigo have not stolen my people's cairns. We do not keep this gets people in abject poverty and corruption and despair and call it progress and civilization.
Did this
Have them misguided hate.
get a Fenris imprison any of your kinfolk or any of your brothers or sisters?
He is here. He perpetuates the system and he mocked their imprisonment.
Which was callous and rude of him. But I ask you again, has he actually done anything to the Wendigo that you know of aside from today's altercation?
Him, individually, actively, and knowingly, no.
Then you killed a man who simply said something that angered you and had committed no crime against your people. And I'd like you to make a willpower roll, difficulty 9, threshold 2 successes.
Okay. Ben's character sheet. As I just remember his willpower, because I never actually. Is no successes.
Her words strike a certain chord with you, considering that you have fallen into the Hirano of the aftermath of Thrall the Worm, and the fact that you did kill and partially consume another Garou. These words, perhaps for the first time, strike a resonance within Ben's mind. And suddenly the weight of what he has done really comes down upon him to strike him as that even though this Siegfried was arrogant and careless with his words, he was still, for all intents and purposes, an innocent man. And and his rage had only caused him to not only fall out of Gaia's grace for a moment, but also outside of the grace of his auspice.
Then he is, if this one is, maybe he was, not party to the greater crimes of his people. Maybe arrogance is not a crime worthy of death and defilement. Indeed, there is no law in our people against harsh words exchanged. But there is against this.
Maylin nods as she begins to pour him a cup of tea and as well herself. As Garou, we are commanded to be angry, to bear the rage of our patron Luna. You know this. All Garou do. But there is nothing within the litany, nor within the history of the nation as a whole that says that we must hate. Hatred is something we choose to do, rather than something we are ordered to do. The Wendigo, a tribe of immense heritage and history and legacy, live in a state now where they wallow within their own anger. And it breeds a very deep-rooted hatred amongst those that may be descendants of those that committed crimes, but have committed none themselves. All tribes that were involved in the defilement of the Pure Lands accept this now, just as all members of the Garu nation accept that the Impergium, the War of Tears, and the War of Rage are all blemishes upon otherwise noble individuals. We do bear that shame.
Ben looks at Maylin. The Impergium was wrong. We do not hunt people. We do not hunt humans anymore. The War of Rage was wrong. We encourage the other Farah to join us in our fight against the worm and not hunt them in turn. The War of Tears, I don't know much about. Andre never mentioned something once.
There was once a tribe of Garu that resided in the continent you know as Australia. They were different than us, but also part of the nation. Upon finding them, the Spirals created the greatest deed of trickery and deception they ever had in our history. And thus we actively slew and destroyed the entirety of the Bunyip tribe. Has left Australia a hostile ground to any Garu that dare set foot there. The Umbra is filled with spirits that both despise and hate us, and are hungry to get their hands and shed the blood of Garu who destroyed their patrons.
Sounds a tragedy, and I do not know enough to comment beyond that. But the difference between the reason for my hate of the Wormbringers and them is, like I say, we do not kill the humans, we do not hunt other Farah. But the kinfolk of the Wormbringers, particularly the Silver Fangs and the Glass Walkers, they continue to pave over the land, and they have influence in these systems that keep my people in such squalor. The reservations are the poorest part of North America. And what do they do to change it? What do they do to right their wrongs? They do nothing, and they mock the very idea that we should feel wronged by that. This is not a historic crime. It is an ongoing crime that they indulge in.
And yet,
And they call it ancient history.
there are those within the tribes that have fought in the governments of various countries here in Northern America to ensure that the rights of indigenous people are not trifled with, that their own laws be the word of their reservations. There are those even within the Glasswalkers that seek to turn their businesses of industry away from the harmful emissions and turn the companies into what is known as going green. There are children of Gaia who sit and work on preserving nature, as many of the tribes do. Those within legislative branches work to make sure that wolf populations are kept safe. While change does not come easily within the nation, there is the effort. though it is slow, and often falls at the wayside when bigger threats come looming at the door.
There may be some who do help, and I have never denied that. My people are known to hate the Shadow Lords. I respected my Alpha, who was one. But these people are the exception rather than the rule, which is why I treated them as such. Most of the Wormbringers do not care for their current crimes, or do not even see them to be crimes. Yes, some of them work to improve the lives of my kinfolk, but pitifully few, and like you say, at the first excuse is abandoned.
As I said, change comes slowly. But also the disposition of the Wendigo, after so much time, has not aided in those that are perhaps willing to respond, but are intimidated or perhaps insulted as a result. Rather than temper your hatred or your anger, you wear it on your sleeves and you let it wash over you, cover you like a blanket, one that turns aside all those that would be allies.
When we tried to work alongside them before, when we were once willing to let bygones be bygones, we worked to imprison the Storm Eater the first time, and what happened a couple of days later? But Wendigo kinfolk lying in dirt, dead, and medals being awarded to their murderers.
Again, there is tragedy, always tragedy. But we have reached an age where there is more willingness to put aside old hurts.
An age where the Wormbringers are stronger here and demand that we do. There is our land in the north, I know none of it. In the far wilds, the north that is still ours. But the cooperation, my people, is not by choice, it's because they are allies of necessity against the worm. They are the only ones with the numbers to fight it properly.
Maylin will take a sip of her tea. Your hatred, it is a tragic truth of your existence. But I feel that if you go to your end, with it still held clasped in your heart, you will never find peace. There is a member of your tribe here in the Sept by the name of Kachina.
Yes.
Who has seemed to have had a spiritual awakening and a realization of sorts, an epiphany. Has he spoken with you about this tale?
I have sadly not had a chance to speak to Brother Kachina recently.
Rumors about the Sept claim that he returned with a hint of pure breed hint of the blood that ran through middle brother, as you call it.
How is this?
It would seem that perhaps he inherited some of it, as well as a trinket, as I understand. And his disposition as a Wendigo has certainly changed since he has come back. There is a marked change to his attitude.
Kachina was always calm at the best of times. He was more patient than many of my brothers.
And it would seem that the spirits favored him for this, for he has reclaimed a small piece of what has been lost.
You saying that Great Wendigo wishes for us to let go of the wrongs done to us, to dishonor the dead, dishonor the dying, and our kinfolk?
Perhaps yes, perhaps no. Or perhaps a path somewhere in the middle. Perhaps Great Wendigo seeks, as Middle Brother would, as the Croatan would, wanting you to join yourselves with the nation in unity rather than in distrust and vitriol, and hatred and bile. Kachina is now a favored son in many respects, and he does not hold the same hate in his heart that you do, rather that it is not so bitterly cold that he cannot work objectively and find merit in those around him. Surely there are those from different tribes that you found appealing, found good company in.
There were, say, Bone Nora, Uktina, Shadow Lord, Black Fury. Yes, there were those of other tribes that I respected from their actions, but most I met I did not.
And that is indeed a shame. She'll reach across and place a hand on Ben's shoulders. Eventually, we end up alone if we allow hate to fester, and it makes us an easier target for the worm. You've experienced this now firsthand, where it has caused you to do terrible things that have now condemned you to death. Look at it for what it is, Ben Renshaw, and see that this is a plight that your people face. And there is no truer parallel that I could draw between the plight of yourself and the plight of the Wendigo.
Ben gives a wry smile and says, "The hate comes from logic and gives us rage, which gives us strength. Is that, yes, that has led us down a dark path, but so can anyone's rage, whatever its source is. Our rage to be condemned as our fault and something we should let go of completely. Would you say the same of a Get's desperate hunt for vain glory and the fear of those around him? Or
Many
Glasswalker's consorting with even the most corrupt Weaver spirits?
Get die before their time is due. Many get leave behind grieving children, wives, husbands, brothers and sisters. Many forget that the Weaver once had a place, just as the Worm did, place and balance. And while it has certainly gone insane, it is not entirely unredeemable. There are many that forget that the Black Spirals were once our strongest allies, and that any of us that fight them should do so understanding a great failing of the nation as a whole, and that their deaths, even as corrupted, are a mercy to them, and we should weep for them all the same. There are too many examples, Ben Renshaw, of isolating hate and what it does to the nation and those tragic instances of history. Will you hang on to that for so long that you will go to your death, ready to tear down the world for something that happened so many years ago, and not work with those around you to enlighten them, to endear them to your plight and to the plight of your people?
Like I say, they are not ancient wrongs, and my people have sacrificed enough that if our plight is not self-evident, it is proof of the blindness of others. I will not dishonor them by abandoning my feelings about it. I feel this only proves the blindness of the Wormbringers, their ignorance of the consequences of their own actions on the whole, not on all the pure tribes and the kinfolk. I imagine the Red Talon would say something similar as well.
The Stargazer finishes off her last bit of tea and leaves the tea set in front of Ben as she stands. I do truly pity you, Ben Renshaw. For you will go to your death holding resentment and anger in your heart and not find the peace that Gaia offers us.
I understand your good intentions contemplates the night, and maybe it is right that I die because I cannot let go of these of what you say, ancient grudges, although I disagree with the term. And maybe I am not needed in the Garu nation, and my feelings are not needed in the Garu nation, but I will not abandon that.
She only nods and doesn't seem to judge. She simply takes hold of the shackles with an uncomfortable look upon her face, and she brings them to him once again and places them about his arms, though leaving enough tension that he can finish his tea. I will leave you with this last bit of information, young one. More and more Wendigo die every day, and more they draw themselves away from the nation as a whole. And more they leave themselves vulnerable, and it is only a matter of time before they follow the same path as the White Howlers. You experienced today what that path will lead you to.
So if we are broken by the actions of others, let the breakers make the steps. We have sacrificed enough. If contemplates the night, may I ask one last honor before I die from you?
She nods her head.
Amongst my possessions is a scalp that I took from a black spiral dancer. I will die with it.
She looks at the Wendigo and places two hands on either side of his cheeks and looks him directly in the eye with a compassionate stare. No. I will not let you venture forth into your own end carrying a trophy such as that. It is only a physical manifestation of what has driven you to where you are now. And since you do not see things through unclouded eyes, I feel that it would only drive you to become an ancestor that would drive further Wendigo further into hatred. There are
And with
consequences for what you do, and consequences for what you bear. You may awaken someday as an ancestor spirit, and there may be some other young Wendigo further down your own line calls upon you, and you will lead him into ruin rather than into salvation. This I cannot allow to happen.
Ben doesn't respond. And he simply resumes the position that he was when you first entered. Head hanging down, weight on the shackles. And
Contemplates
lost in his own Harana.
Contemplates the night, just simply places a soft kiss atop his brow, and then walks away, returning up the stairs and stopping to look at Morning Kill.
And
There is naught that can be done for him. He will go to Gaia holding great hatred in his heart. He will be one more ancestor that bears a grudge and leads further young cubs and Cleats into ruination.
As he's closing the door behind her, if need be, we can ask the Fiarch wakes the mountain to bind his ancestor spirits to an object to avoid that fate.
That will be your decision and not mine. I will not subject any more torment upon him.
No, that won't be necessary. This day and age are already the final days.
Unfortunately, the message of hope will never reach him. But I will still hold out, even if it is a vain effort.
Let us go. As he's going to start walking.
Maylin will fall and step alongside him, somber and quiet. And I think there we can end our scene.